The impact of the Crusades on Eastern Christianity. Introduction, a complex relationship. The Crusades, launched as a defense of Christendom, had profound and often contradictory effects on Eastern Christianity. While ostensibly aimed at aiding the Byzantine Empire and protecting Eastern Christians from Muslim advances, the Crusades frequently exacerbated tensions between the Latin West and Eastern Orthodox Christians. Far from unifying Christendom, the Crusades deepened the schism between the Catholic and Orthodox churches and contributed to the political and cultural decline of Eastern Christian states. Chapter 1. Initial Collaboration and Mutual Need. The Byzantine Request for Aid. The Crusades began as a response to a plea for help from the Byzantine Emperor Alexios I Komnenos. The Byzantine Empire faced severe territorial losses to the Seljuk Turks, particularly after the disastrous defeat at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071. Alexios' appeal to Pope Urban II. Alexios sought Western military assistance to reclaim lost territories in Anatolia. His appeal was framed as a defense of Christendom, emphasizing the shared religious heritage of Eastern and Western Christians. This request directly influenced Pope Urban II's call for the First Crusade at the Council of Clermont in 1095. Initial cooperation. The early stages of the First Crusade saw some degree of collaboration between the Byzantines and the Latin Crusaders. Logistical support. The Byzantines provided logistical support to the Crusaders, including transportation and provisions. In return, Crusader leaders swore oaths of allegiance to Alexios, promising to return captured territories to the empire. The recapture of Nicaea, 1097. The successful recapture of Nicaea, a key city in Anatolia, demonstrated the potential for cooperation between the Byzantines and the Crusaders. However, tensions quickly emerged over the division of spoils and authority. Chapter 2. Growing tensions between East and West. Despite their shared religious goals, cultural and political differences between Eastern Orthodox Christians and Latin Crusaders strained their relationship. Cultural and religious misunderstandings. The Latin Crusaders often viewed Eastern Christians with suspicion and contempt, perceiving them as culturally alien and religiously compromised. Theological differences. The Great Schism of 1054, which formalized the divide between the Catholic and Orthodox churches, created deep theological and liturgical differences. The Crusaders' Latin rite, celibate clergy, and papal supremacy clashed with Orthodox practices, fueling mutual mistrust. Stereotypes and prejudices. Western chroniclers frequently described Eastern Christians in derogatory terms, accusing them of cowardice, treachery, or heretical beliefs. These perceptions undermined the unity of Christendom and justified Latin dominance over Eastern Christians. The rise of Crusader states. The establishment of Crusader states in the Levant, such as the Kingdom of Jerusalem, further alienated Eastern Christians. Byzantine resentment. The Byzantines resented the Crusaders' refusal to return key territories, such as Antioch, to imperial control. The creation of independent Crusader states was seen as a betrayal of the oaths sworn to Alexios. Latin hierarchies in Orthodox lands. In territories controlled by the Crusaders, Latin bishops often replaced Orthodox clergy. This imposition of Western religious authority marginalized Eastern Christians and deepened the divide between the two branches of Christianity. Chapter 3. The Fourth Crusade and its devastating impact. The Fourth Crusade, 1202 to 1204, marked a turning point in the relationship between Eastern and Western Christianity. Instead of attacking Muslim forces, the Crusaders diverted their campaign to Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire. The sack of Constantinople. In 1204, Crusader forces captured and brutally sacked Constantinople, dealing a catastrophic blow to Eastern Christianity. Destruction and looting. The Crusaders looted churches, monasteries, and homes, desecrating sacred relics and icons. Treasures such as the horses of St. Mark were taken to the west, symbolizing the humiliation of the Byzantine Church. Massacres and violence. The sack involved widespread violence against the city's inhabitants, including clergy and nuns. The brutality of the Crusaders shocked even their contemporaries and left a lasting scar on Eastern Christian communities. The Latin Empire, 1204 to 1261. After the sack, The Crusaders established the Latin Empire in Constantinople, displacing the Byzantine imperial government. Suppression of Orthodox Christianity. The Latin rulers imposed Catholicism on the population, replacing Orthodox clergy with Latin priests. This deepened resentment and resistance among the Byzantine populace. Fragmentation of the Byzantine Empire. The establishment of the Latin Empire weakened Byzantine political cohesion, as rival successor states like Nicaea, Trebizond, and Epirus emerged. This fragmentation left Eastern Christianity vulnerable to both internal strife and external threats. Chapter 4. The long-term consequences. The impact of the Crusades on Eastern Christianity extended far beyond the immediate devastation of Constantinople, influencing the political, cultural, and religious trajectories of the Byzantine Empire and the Orthodox Church. Weakening of Byzantine power. The Crusades significantly weakened the Byzantine Empire, hastening its decline. Loss of territory and resources. The diversion of resources to address Crusader incursions, combined with the territorial fragmentation caused by the Fourth Crusade, undermined the empire's ability to resist subsequent threats, particularly from the Ottoman Turks. Fall of Constantinople, 1453. The weakened Byzantine state eventually fell to the Ottoman Empire in 1453, marking the end of the Eastern Roman Empire. Many historians trace this decline back to the disruptions caused by the Crusades. Deepening the schism. The Crusades solidified the divide between the Catholic and Orthodox churches. Religious animosity. The Fourth Crusade's desecration of Orthodox sacred sites and the imposition of Latin clergy in Orthodox lands created enduring hostility. Efforts at reconciliation, such as the Council of Florence, 1439, were largely unsuccessful. Cultural divergence. The Crusades accelerated the cultural divergence between Eastern and Western Christianity. The Byzantine emphasis on liturgy, mysticism, and monasticism increasingly contrasted with the Latin focus on scholasticism and papal authority. Chapter 5. Cultural and intellectual exchange. Despite the violence and mistrust, the Crusades facilitated some cultural and intellectual exchanges between Eastern and Western Christianity. Transmission of Byzantine knowledge. Byzantine scholars played a crucial role in preserving and transmitting classical knowledge to the Latin West. Greek texts and philosophy. During the Crusades, Western scholars gained access to Byzantine libraries, where they encountered works by Greek philosophers such as Aristotle. These texts were instrumental in the intellectual revival of Europe during the Renaissance. Art and architecture. Byzantine art and architecture influenced Western styles, particularly in religious iconography and church design. The adoption of domes, mosaics, and frescoes in Western churches reflects this exchange. Diplomatic and religious dialogues. Despite the hostility, there were moments of dialogue and cooperation between Eastern and Western Christians. Chapter 6. The Crusades' role in Eastern Christian identity. The Crusades had a significant influence on the development of Eastern Christian identity. As Eastern Christians grappled with the trauma of these events, they defined their theological, cultural, and political identity in opposition to both Western Christianity and the growing presence of Islam. Strengthening of Orthodox theology. In response to the challenges posed by the Crusades, Eastern Christianity emphasized its theological traditions, reinforcing its distinct identity. Liturgical focus. The Orthodox Church intensified its emphasis on liturgical practices and mysticism, presenting these elements as central to the Christian experience. This focus on spiritual depth became a defining characteristic of Eastern Christianity, contrasting with the scholasticism that dominated Western theology during the same period. Defense of orthodoxy. The Crusades, particularly the Fourth Crusade, prompted Eastern theologians to articulate a clearer defense of Orthodox doctrine. Figures such as Saint Gregory Palamas championed hesychasm, a mystical tradition that underscored the contemplative heart of Orthodox spirituality. Political fragmentation and cultural resilience. While the Crusades contributed to the political fragmentation of the Byzantine Empire, they also fostered a sense of cultural resilience among Eastern Christians. Survival of Orthodox successor states. Even after the sack of Constantinople in 1204, Orthodox Christian successor states such as the Empire of Nicaea and the Despotate of Epirus preserved Byzantine traditions. These states became centers of Orthodox learning and governance, ensuring the survival of Eastern Christianity. The role of monasticism. Orthodox monasteries became bastions of cultural and spiritual preservation during and after the Crusades. Monasteries such as those on Mount Athos continued to produce theological works, train clergy, and safeguard icons and relics.